one is better than none.
Ellen?
Yeah.
I don't think you have to worry about December because we're meeting live.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is what? Just push them up against the wall and make them volunteer? Is that how it works then?
Yeah.
Pat?
Strong arm them.
Can you explain what it is again?
Basically show and tell is taking whatever you've been, a series of your slides to fill about, I don't know, 7 minutes worth. I think I did one a long time ago, but and all you're doing is showing what kind of information or what you've been working on lately. So
That's a lot of pictures.
yeah,
Depends
I
upon
don't
how
know
much
that I
you
could
talk.
get, I don't know that I could fill 7 minutes of my
Well-
pictures are not that exciting.
It doesn't have,
Ellen?
have to be 7 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ellen,
You get up to 7 minutes.
up to 7 minutes. Talk
Oh.
slow. That's what I
Yeah,
usually.
that is not one thing I do well is talking slow. Well,
Ellen,
you can
Yeah.
put me down. Just give me enough notice to try and find pictures.
Okay, well, it will be for, I don't know who I was talking to. My screen went blank. Tony, are you trying to get a hold of me?
yes, we won't be home for the November meeting.
Tony, I'll be in Mexico.
And
So,
I'll be in Rome.
okay. So, but I may join you from Mexico in my Day of the Dead regalia, so.
Oh, okay, so I won't be able to do show and tell.
Not for next month. How about December? No, not December. How about January? You're conveniently muted.
I don't know.
Okay.
We
That's pretty
may
much-
we may be away again.
Okay. Okay, that's a no. Got it.
Well, maybe Elizabeth would sign up for either November or January. I know that she has some South Dakota pictures or North Dakota.
I
Who-
do.
Linnea is the one who signed up already. So I have her and I think I have Bernard Hall.
Yeah.
I think those are the two brave souls who stepped forward while everybody was stepping back.
So we have people for November, so we're looking for January.
They didn't give me a specific date. So we can put them, I think Linnea's looking for the spring. So we have, and is it okay if we don't have them? I mean, that's up to the group also.
Well, if nobody volunteers, then we don't have them.
Then we don't have them, yeah. Okay.
Plain and
I'm
simple.
still doing it.
I can go any month.
Who is that?
Me.
Chris, I could do one tonight.
Okay, we can do that tonight.
Okay,
I can do
Chris-
November.
and that is, who was talking to me?
Me, Bernard.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you signed up, but you can do November then. Okay.
Sure.
Chris is tomorrow or tonight, and you are November, so you'll get your name in the newsletter at least. I will thank Chris for tonight. Okay, November is, and then we'll just take it from there. So, and then
And Ellen,
yeah.
okay, Ellen, this is Patty. You can
Oh.
put me down for sometime early next year.
Okay,
Might be the push I need to get out and take some more pictures.
got it. So I'm gonna concentrate more on 2023 than finishing off this year. If we do, we do. If we don't, we're flexible. All right.
Okay, Roger, we can actually get started here.
Okay, yeah. Welcome to Menomonee Falls Camera Club, everyone. I don't see any new members. Am I missing anybody as a new member? I don't think so. First, I'll give a call for Pat Lynch. Do you want to give a report on funds and membership?
Sure. Bear with me. I'll share my screen.
Pat, you are muted right now.
Oh,
You're muted again.
You unmuted and muted real quick there. I think your screen share is frozen.
But at least we got the
Okay.
numbers.
okay. At least I'm not muted. Can you see my screen at all?
Yeah,
We-
we can see
we
a
get-
spreadsheet.
We see the spreadsheet, but I know it's like warped a little. Okay, now it came to life. I was gonna say
Okay.
it was showing you minimizing the spreadsheet,
Okay.
but now it's good.
All right. All right. So basically, the bottom number is our bank balance that we have in our account. So far, I've collected $520 in dues, which is about half. Last year, I think we had $920 in dues total. So
Okay.
we still have some expenses coming up this year. One will be to rent the room for the pizza party. And then we also have website and Zoom to pay as soon as whenever Jeff invoices me for that. And of course, the pizza for the food. And then we also have whatever speakers we have to pay out this year. So that's pretty much where we're at.
Okay. All right.
Pat, my question to you would be, did you do any kind of analysis for like our calendar year running, from September of 21 through July of 22, so that we knew what dues we collected for that year and what our expenses? I mean, that's really our year, whereas this is kind of dividing.
Well, it depends. The unknown is the website and the Zoom. Jeff would have those numbers.
Yeah.
And as far as the dues go, if everybody pays and we got the same amount of members, we should have around $940 in dues money. So I'm about $400 short of that right now.
How many more people still have to pay their dues?
Yeah, let's see, 5, 10, 50, probably
Yeah.
somewhere between 20 and 25.
Yeah. Yeah, the
I
website's
remembered
paid for.
today.
Yeah, the website is paid for till August next year.
Okay,
And Zoom is up to date up till August 1st. So I'll be charging Zoom probably not till next year. So
okay,
that's $20 a meeting for
All right.
September to March is when I have to renew it, and that's when things get, we
okay.
see what that's gonna be.
How many speakers are we having this year?
I don't have that one in front of me, and I guess I'm the
Yeah.
one that.
I think we're having
oh,
at
wait,
least 3.
just a minute. I think I've got it here. 2020. It would.
We already had
prob-
Hazel. That's what that
yeah, we had
$100 is for.
Hazel.
It's hers. Then we have
no.
somebody tonight.
Right.
Jeff Katz,
Yeah, we have Jeff Katz in February. Lewis
Mike-
Katz.
Louis Katz, okay, Mike Mazel, Storm guy.
And yeah, Mike Mazel is in March.
And then we
Mike is
got
150. Lewis, I think, is 125.
Okay.
And then there should be a Chef Dobbs, I think, from Mike Crivellos, and that should be free.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And that's it. So we really
Okay.
just have 2 more paid speakers.
So that's going to be around 475 then
Yeah.
for speakers for the whole year. And well, and then we got our PSA dues also to pay.
Hey, the
And that's-
taxes, what's the
that's pretty much.
taxes for?
Oh, that was for Jeffrey charged me taxes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We're not a tax exempt organization.
So
And Zoom, I have to charge tax on.
Okay.
Okay,
And I think the website too, we get charged tax. So
So I wasn't sure. I thought we might have been maybe a nonprofit.
no.
no.
all right.
All right, all
Can
right.
we move on?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm done.
Okay. Ken, did you want to mention anything as far as WACO goes? You're muted.
All right. What we have going on right now is a competition. And it closes on October 16th at midnight. So there's less than 2 weeks left to get your images in. We usually have a pretty strong group of people that participate from our camera club. And I don't think there's too many people that have actually downloaded or uploaded their photos yet. So I want to encourage everyone to participate in the competition.
Okay. Also, Jeff, you were saying something about the PSA Club Showcase.
Right. We need images for the PSA Club Showcase. Ken sent out a note to people that had entered the competition last year to have those people pick out images that they would like to see us use on the club showcase. I had only received 2 images from people.
Yeah, I had 3 more that told me what they wanted to do. So we've got a total of 5. So we need 2 more people at least 2 more people to respond.
Okay.
And so we need to get those images before the 16th, because we have to have them to Bonnie by the end of the month. So please get them to either me or to Ken so that we can make sure we have some images to submit for the PSA Club Showcase competition.
Jeff?
And,
Yeah, I now have another one. So we have 6.
okay.
Jeff, I'm pretty sure I sent you one. Is that correct?
Yep.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
we got yours, and I think Jesse was the other one. Yeah, Jesse was the other one that sent us one. So, so yeah, we need to work on that and get that in so that we can judge that. Actually, we normally judge that in December, but now we won't be able to do that then. We switched that to some other time, I guess.
I thought we were going to do that at our November meeting.
Yeah, that could be. I pulled down the sheet that I had that on. So, yeah, once she sends me the images, then we can judge it. So
Okay,
the other thing to get into us is the Wisconsin print circuit is going, and we need a print. I believe it's going. I don't have any information on it, but it would be a print up to an 8.5 by 11 in size, one color, one black and white. And we need to have that in by November 1st at the absolute latest, and probably sooner. So if you want to participate in the Wisconsin print circuit, you can mail the prints to either myself or to Ken.
Hey, Jeff,
Yeah,
I thought it was up to 8 by 12, so that you could either get 8 by 10, 8.5 by 11, or 8 by 12.
could be. I haven't heard from Mary, so I don't know.
Yeah, 'cause that's
don't
how
have-
it was before. And then if you wanted to do square, I think it was 8 by 8.
Okay. Mary hasn't sent me any information, so,
Right, and she needs the prints by the November meeting, by that
Right.
second,
that's what I
first
figured.
week in November, but
Yeah. I kept asking her for the info because I was going to put it in the newsletter, but she was too busy with a new job. So hopefully she's going to let us know if we're still doing it or not.
right. And I know she had said that people could mail their prints directly to her,
Right.
as long as she had them by that November WACO meeting date.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't have a lot of info because she didn't send me anything.
Yeah, I'm just going off past years. I don't know if she changed it either, because I haven't heard
Yeah.
that either, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the 5th of November.
Right.
So if you get it to Jeff and I, we'll take care of getting it to Mary by the 5th. If you have any interest in doing so, I think it's a well worthwhile program. We haven't been able to do prints in our WACO competitions for over 2 years now, and so it's a good way to do our prints, and we're probably going to do this as a substitution for our competition print program for the time being. So if you, it's a great program, and it's all judged by individual photographers from each club, and I think it's a fun program.
Yeah. So if anybody has questions about it, contact Ken or myself. And we can answer it. I can get you Mary's mailing address. I don't have that off the top of my head here, but probably simpler if you just mail it to either Ken or myself, and I'll put my address in the chat for everybody in a second. And if you want, you can just mail them to me, and then I can group mail it to Mary.
okay. Jeff, did you want to say anything about the digital forum at all?
Yeah, the digital forum is coming up October 22nd. We will have Robert Vanelli talking about the new Luminar products that are out and constantly being updated. At least that's the goal that we hope to have him. I'm waiting to hear back, but I know he's a very busy person, so a lot of times I don't hear back from him, especially during fall right away. So October 22nd, the second hour will be Vanelli. And next year we will have Mike Maisel in March talking about volcano photography, which should be very interesting.
Okay.
And So we got a number of good ones coming up. Jamie, I can't think of her last name, talking about fine art infrared photography in January. So got a couple lined up and working on a few more. So come join us at Digital Forum.
Okay. Now, we had a outing of Evening City Walk on September 14th. Is that right? How did that go?
Ken and I had a great time together. The weather was great. It was perfect for what we wanted. I think Ken, I'll admit I am just now editing my photos from our Chicago field trip. So I'm a little behind, but I know I think I got some good stuff, Ken. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I have mine ready to go, so I could send them over to Jeff.
So it sounds like you were the only two that were there.
That's true.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with some diehards.
Yeah. And we've got an upcoming outing to China Lights. It sounded like Ken and Ian again were looking to set a date. No? Okay.
I'm coaching my daughter's soccer team, as I mentioned earlier. So
Okay.
my weekday availability is pretty limited and my weekends are pretty booked. So I'm probably only making China Lights this Saturday with my family. So
Okay.
I've got a couple of things going on too. So the only dates that I have available are October 20th and 26th. So if anybody is interested in going on those nights, otherwise we'll just let everybody go on their own and then submit their images into Jeff.
Okay. All right. So yeah, if anybody's leery about going by themselves, go ahead and contact Ken and see if you can come up with a date and time. I was going to mention that.
I'll put my phone number in the chat.
Okay. I was going to mention that Jane Hurst does 2 slideshows each year, and one will be in December with your favorite images, and then one in June with a theme of leading lines is what we've chosen this year.
I think the December one is going to be shown in January because we're meeting in person in December and not doing the slideshow in December.
You're right. Yeah.
And that's always just people's choice, whatever they want to show us that they've done over the course of time.
Yeah. Okay. And this month's President's Challenge was transportation, with next month's challenge being reflections. I want to thank the people that have entered in pictures that I have put together for a slideshow, and encourage you to send some next month. If Chris, if you can do a show and tell, I'll do the President's Challenge slideshow after your presentation. Sam Arntz is not here yet.
On it right now, right?
Right now, if you're ready.
I shall share my screen if I can figure this fantastic program out.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that next month is the member image review with you sending your images, 1 to 2 images per person to Jeff by the end of October. So that's the image review. And then Jane will be doing the slideshow in January. Favorite images in January. So we had to do a little juggling simply because of the in-person meeting at the rec center on December 6th. And it's at 6:30 to 9. And we'll be judging the print circuit images there, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You are muted right now, Chris. Chris, you're muted. Chris, Chris, you're muted.
I think he's working on it. He just has to get back to his Zoom.
Oh,
I know sometimes I first, instead of pressing and holding the space bar, I have to completely unmute myself and then I can have my presentation.
yeah.
Chris, you'll have to stop your screen share, unmute, and then start your screen share over. I think that's what's wrong. Then you'll be able to get to the Zoom
Yeah, good evening. Good evening.
window.
What?
Chris, now you should be able to see your Zoom window. I stopped your screen share.
Okay, now you should hear me, I hope.
Yep.
Yes.
Now we can hear you.
Okay.
So now you
I
can
will
share again.
share screen. And should I pick the window that has me in it?
Pick wherever you have your photos showing, that's the window you should pick.
So now you should see a leaf.
Yep.
You see a leaf?
Yep, we see a leaf. Oh,
That is the
yeah.
first picture I want to show you. That is a picture of a leaf I took this month. What I do is I try to take pictures in a given month and put them in a subdirectory. And this is the subdirectory from the last few weeks. So that is a leaf. I thought was a nice picture. And that is another flower I took. And I thought an ant sitting on that leaf, on that seed, was an interesting picture. I've seen a lot of dragonflies this summer. That's one of them, was on a park bench. One of the plants in our backyard that has given up the ghost and made an interesting black and white study. A heron at dusk. A little flower that or a leaf that I was red, and I always take pictures of things that are red. Some leaves that are starting to turn in my area. A frog that I found the other day. A couple of ducks at Horicon Marsh. Some flowers at Greenfield Park. Greenfield Park again. A man running at Greenfield Park. A flower in my mother's garden. Another rain-soaked flower in the garden. Some red berries I found, again, taking pictures of things that are red. Another red thing that I found. There are enough turkeys in my neighborhood that I see them about twice a day at sunset and sunrise in the yard, a flock of about 15 of them. And this one posed for a photograph. Some ducks in a sort of overgrown pond. I planted a few sunflowers in the backyard to just take pictures of for the fun of it. And this is a little weed flower that shows up in my my garden. It looks sort of like an orchid, but it's probably about 1/4 of an inch to 3/8 of an inch in diameter. I have no idea what it is, but it's interesting. Again, a couple more ducks hanging around. The turkeys were visiting a neighbor's feeder. I try to get these guys when I can find them. Another dragonfly, another something red. And ducks are a lot more interesting when they flap their wings. And I happen to be there with the right camera to get them. And I try flowers when I can. And that is it. So if I can figure out how to mute myself again, I hope you enjoyed it.
Very good. And what lens do you use for the ducks and so forth?
That particular lens was the 100 to 400 Canon Zoom version 1 that I bought many years ago on a 7D. So it was a little bit of a crop camera.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Our guest speaker has shown up, so he's in the background right now. I'll show off my President's Challenge of the month, and then we'll set up to run we'll set up to do Sam after the slideshow. So let me see if I can get this right. Your screen sharing. This is an odd question, but what are you seeing right now?
I believe it's your desktop.
Yeah, we're seeing your desktop.
Whoops. I think I have to redo my screen sharing because I didn't get the audio.
Oh, yeah, make sure you check the sound box in there.
Screen one, okay. Share sound, share. We'll try it again. Is it running now?
Yep, working.
Okay, good.
You hear music, but I don't see any pictures yet.
Uh-oh. Anybody else see pictures?
Nope.
No, it's
Well,
a black screen.
On mine, it's a green screen.
Okay, well, we'll back up and try it again.
Yeah.
Green one, share sound, optimize for video clip. Maybe
Yeah.
that should be turned off. Or
No, you should do that too, because you're playing a video clip.
okay,
And just the big trick is maybe the screen. It depends what screen
yeah.
the video plays on.
Well, maybe I'll try running it on the other screen. So let's see. Okay. Did you just see a message about version conflict?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't see anything. I see that you're sharing your desktop.
Okay,
But I'm just seeing your desktop no movie.
yeah. I gotta get it moved over to that screen.
Okay,
Here
there
we
we go.
are.
How do I get it to go back to the beginning? There we go. Now are you
George,
seeing?
got it.
Okay. Okay. Some great images. Thanks for everyone for submitting those. Try and get organized here. So, all right, we're now ready for Sam. About on time. We have first speaker tonight, Sam Arntz, who is the staff photographer for Port Washington Ozaukee Press. And he's kind of followed in his footsteps since his father held that position basically back since the last ice age. Sam's been snapping pictures for publication since he was in high school, and he went to college swearing that he would never pick up a camera again, but he found out that in order to avoid being a productive member of society, he had to learn how to use a camera, and has avoided ever having to do an honest day's work. He's worked in the dark room with black and white film and is advanced to digital. And in addition to journalism, he's shot weddings and done portrait work. So I'll set up here to be able to share some of the pictures that he has.
Well, looks good. Somebody gave me a set of questions before emailed me.
Oh,
We talk about those too. Then
okay.
we could kind of move into the pictures if we wanted to.
Okay, well, I'll let you move in front of the screen.
Okay, where's the screen at? What do we see here? So, oh, there we go. No, okay, that'll work. Okay, well, I guess I got my introduction there. So with that out of the way, I got a set of questions before an email here. And the first one is pertaining to the kind of camera gear I use. I'm a Nikon guy. I grew up using Nikons. I was using Nikons back in the days of film and all that. And during the digital switch and all that, we still got a bunch of Nikon lenses. So we kept on using Nikon equipment. I suffered from Nikon through a lot of bad years until they came up with a E3 and became competitive with Canon. Right now, I think that the two camera companies are pretty much on equal footing. So it's kind of what you're used to, what you got for equipment. So in terms of the gear I carry, right now I'm using a D6. I was using a D3s. I still have the D3s, but because Nikon doesn't support them anymore, I had to acquire a D6 in terms of camera bodies. For lenses, I go from a 14 to a 24. I have a 24 to 70. I have a 70 to 200. I usually carry these in belt pouches. Also carry a SB something or other, a strobe unit, and a couple of teleconverters. If I need additional reach with a lens, I have a 300 2.8. My father always used to say with lenses, you need a short lens, a long lens, and a fast lens. I always said speed is life. You need all three, but make sure they're all fast. So that pretty much is in terms of equipment. In terms of the software I use, I generally manage a lot of my images with Photo Mechanic, and then of course I work them up in Photoshop, which is still, I think, probably the gold standard of those kind of programs. The conversion I made from film to digital. Once upon a time, I didn't know how I would adjust to digital cameras. I thought it was just, how are you going to make that jump? And then, well, as soon as I made the jump, I kind of looked back and I thought, how did I ever manage without this stuff? So it's, well, I had some friends who are computer geeks and all that, and they kind of helped me through all that. So it's a camera right now is kind of an extension of a computer, but while I'm not much of a computer person, I've been able to make it work for me. As for going mirrorless, Well, right now I'm 60 years old. I've been, well, I don't know how many more years I've got to be doing this kind of thing. It's a young man's game. So it's kind of like, I think I'm going to be sticking with the old single lens reflex cameras until I retire. Somebody was also asking me about event access. I guess it's like the news events and all that. As a general rule of thumb, at least in Ozaukee County and all that, the first responders, the firemen, the police department, they all pretty much know who I am. If they have a barricade up, I usually ask them, hey, can I go to over there? And I'll stay out of everybody's way. They say, okay. If not, I stay at the barricade. When you're shooting those kind of events, I find it works best to use your long lenses. And, generally get the same level of respect that you're showed. So that's generally how I deal with officials at news events. Event access. Well, the general rule of thumb, because like sporting events and all that, we cover a number of high schools. They all know me. They know what I'm doing there. I walk in, do my thing, and walk out again. So there's no real problem for me there at any of that stuff. If any of you have any questions, you can pipe in any time. Is it possible? Or do I just, okay. Let's see. Well, there's jobs and vacations. I'm a workaholic. I've actually not taken much more than a week of vacation in the last 10 years. Except you want to count the time that I had the COVID, or you want to talk the time I had spinal surgery. That's about the only time that I've been offline. I'm generally on call 24/7, 365. It's a small paper. I'm generally about, when it comes down to serious photography, I'm pretty much all they've got, so I have to be available. And also, we're very, those of you that are not familiar with the Ozaukee Press, we're patterned very much after the old Life magazine. So photos and photo quality is very much part of our publication. So with that in mind, I really don't, I really have to be there quite a bit of the time. Somebody asked me about job openings in this profession. Right now, I don't know of any openings for photographers. If any of you know of anybody who can write, the Ozaukee Press is looking for at least one, maybe two writers. So I just thought I'd get that plug out there. And well, we have something here, images, image prints versus gallery prints. I'm a news photographer. My pictures have to tell a story about something that's relevant in the news or in the community and all that. So that's the kind of pictures I make. Are some of them gallery worthy? That's kind of in the eye of the beholder. I think that my work is, all photography is art, and I think if it's relevant to people's lives and they react to it, well, then I suppose it's probably the same kind of thing that could be in a gallery. Do I have any more questions while we're going along here? Or should we get?
Everybody's pretty quiet for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know. Do I scare people or what? I've been known to do that.
What are your hours, or do you have to be
My
on?
hours, let's see. Hours like for today. First off, I had to tell the person who does most of my scheduling, hey, I got an engagement tonight. I'll be busy after about 6 o'clock or so. But my first job this morning was a groundbreaking at the sheriff's department. My second job was a homecoming court over in Grafton. And I think I might have had some third thing that I forgot exactly what it was by now, but it was there. On Sunday, for instance, I started working about 8 o'clock at a horse show, and I finished up with my computer working up the images. Everybody wants their stuff Monday morning, so Sunday night is kind of a production day for me. So I kind of finished up at about 11 p.m. I suppose it's one of those things where if the only thing I didn't have for family was one old house cat, well, I'd probably be neglecting them. But well, I kind of lost my wife to cancer 20 years ago, and after that, I've kind of buried myself in my work. So that's kind of how my hours go. I can start at 8. Well, of course, if you started like on a normal day, if you started some job at like 7 or 8 in the morning, and your last job is some sporting event in the evening, usually you find some time middle of the day to kind of wedge your life in. So that's kind of how I do things.
You said you had a scheduler, so they're looking for specific things in the newspaper?
Well, that's okay. Yeah, it's first off, there are events. Okay, these people want me to be here to make a picture of this. Those people want me to be over there to make a picture of that. And then in the meantime, they're telling me, hey, we're short on pictures. Can you go find something? Okay, I'll see what I can do. Sometimes feature hunting is very easy. Sometimes, you get 3-4 pictures in 15 minutes. Sometimes it just doesn't work out that way, but I do what I can.
So you are saying that people call the newspaper and
People
say,
call the newspaper.
I'd like to have some coverage for this event.
And usually what I do there is if they call me directly, I tell them, hey, call the paper. That way they'll put it on my schedule, and you'll be pushed to the front of the line that way. Rather than if I just tell somebody, hey, I'm doing, they don't really know what's at the paper. They don't really know what the picture I just turned in is all about and all that. So it's better working with them, having them coordinate all that stuff.
What about the emergencies or something that?
Emergencies, let's see. If I see smoke on the horizon, I've been known to chase that. Usually you'll end up covering you'll end up seeing a rubbish fire someplace. But you got to check it out. Spot news isn't quite the priority with us it used to be. Once upon a time, back in the days of my father, and that from about like I'd say from the early 60s through about like 82 or so, there was a firebug in the area, and there were a lot of barn fires. Also, once upon a time, this was back in the 60s and 70s and all that, we had beer bars, back before the drinking age. 3.2 beer was okay if you're 18 to 21. And depending on the county, Ozaukee County was the first wet county up from the Illinois border. So we had a lot of people driving up, a lot of kids driving up, going to the beer bars, and then driving home with obvious results. So that was an area where we had a lot of accidents. My father covered a lot of that stuff. But since then, a lot of that stuff, spot news is, as I said, it's not the priority it once was. But if we run into it, we cover it. If we know about it, we'll cover it. But well, this week I did one fire in Saukville. It was an apartment fire. By the time I got there, all the smoke was over, the flames were out. The fire department was just kind of cleaning up. So you make a picture of some fireman walking around in front of a building that shows some smoke damage. That's about the extent of it.
Are you you're the only photographer?
Well, I'm the main photographer, but like my boss can shoot pretty well. Usually, if he's over water, he's a sailor, sailboat, and all that kind of stuff. And if you put water in his pictures, he does okay. We got a sports editor. He does pretty well with sports, which actually, as a sports editor, as sports writers go, he's probably the best shooter I've ever run into. He's learned a lot from me. So, but most of the work is mine. It's like, okay, with sports and all that, we cover 4 different schools. And sometimes we have 3, like we might have 3 or 4 football games, maybe 3. He'll take one and I'll pop the other 2. So that's kind of how we work that. I always tell people, you know, I cannot defy the laws of space and time. I cannot be in more than one place at one time. So that's how that works.
So you just cover Ozaukee County?
Well, Ozaukee Press covers, well, we cover from Grafton, which is maybe about 2/3 of the way south from the northern border. And we cover up into Sheboygan County, up into the Cedar Grove area, and then we cover west to Newburgh, and east. Well, east as far as we need to. Most of where we're up against Lake Michigan, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So that's pretty much my area. Occasionally, if some school goes deep into the playoffs, I might have to go to a championship game in like Madison or some other place. But other than that, I'm pretty much local.
You ever get in situations where you feel your life is in danger?
Well, it didn't happen here. I worked in a paper in Plymouth, out of Plymouth one time, and there was a south of Plymouth is a little community called Waldo. Waldo had a mill, an old feed mill that had been converted into an art studio, run by kind of a creepy, rather creepy character. Anyway, one night that mill burnt to the ground, and 2 of his 3 kids burned up in it. And I had to make a picture afterwards, and there were arson. They were suspecting arson. And okay, if it's arson, it's murder. If it's murder, your first suspects are members of the immediate family. I saw this guy looking over the remains of the mill. I was standing behind him, but he heard my camera click twice. And then right away, he was screaming and shouting in my face. And all of a sudden, I feel about, a half dozen sets of hands on my back and arms and all that, and I'm kind of being dragged backwards. So I figure, well, this is getting me out of this situation. And they pulled me behind a fire truck, and it was the Waldo Fire Department. He says, "Hey, Sam, we know who you are. We know what you're doing here, but you know, if you can kind of stay away from him, it'd be a good idea." And well, by the time I got back to the office, you know, I talked to him about what had happened and all that, and they says, "You got a picture of him in front of the mill and all that?" I says, "Yep." He says, "Boss says, hang on to that picture. He's going to be indicted for murder." So yeah, I made a picture of a murderer at the scene of his crime. So I guess that might have been a little hairy. We'll get into my slideshow here. Well, unless there's any other questions.
You're on call 24/7, right? 3 o'clock in the morning, they can call you up like, "Hey."
Well, if they can get a hold of me, if I can hear my cell phone go off.
Even though it might be on mute.
Well, it's usually, I'm trying to hear my phone call, so it's on ring and vibrate and everything else. And still, if I'm driving around the car, half the time I don't hear it. Old guy hearing, you know. So, anything else? Immediately? Well, how do we get into the slideshow? I'm going to bring up the.
I'll
just
get it started here.
Okay.
Um,
Well,
I have to get an assistant myself too.
Well, I'm not as computer literate as I should be. I only use computers as much as I need to.
So what are you seeing on your screen right now?
I see Rambo.
Okay.
You see Rambo and his friend, huh? We're talking about, okay, remember a couple of years ago when we had the Black Lives Matter and Antifa and all that? they had a idea where they were going to rock the burbs. And anyway, they were going to come to Port Washington. And the rumor was they were going to have a flag burning down at the city band shell. And a bunch of these guys showed up. They're completely within their legal rights, carrying some pretty heavy weaponry in a public park. So, well, if they're there, I'm going to make a few pictures of them. Next slide, please. Yeah, and there's some more of those type of guys. Now, the thing is, when they're, yeah, Boogaloo, classic uniform, Hawaiian shirt and khaki pants. The thing is, as this thing kind of got, well, there was one side with these guys, the other side were the Antifa types, and I was making my best pictures from no man's land. So it's kind of like, you kind of got to go where you can make the pictures. So neither group really was interested in bothering me.
Do you have to get a release?
No, I'm a journalist.
Okay.
If every journalist, if every news picture came with a release, you think of how few news pictures we'd have.
Right. That's what I was
So
wondering.
as long as if if it's for advertising, if it's something like some kind of publication like that, well, then you need a release. But as long as I tell people, a lot of people ask that question, I says, as long as I'm committing journalism and I can legally stand where I can stand, I can make pictures of anything I want.
Okay.
So, and then, here's the other side of that rally. Next slide. So it's kind of like I can turn one direction and make pictures of them. I can turn the other way and make pictures of the Boogaloos. Go ahead. See what I mean? And it's kind of like, okay, you can't be afraid to point your camera at people and hit the shutter release. At least not if you're doing journalism. Is there a risk involved? Yes, there is. There was an old World War II medic I once knew. He always said, St. Peter hates a coward. Of course, then my father would occasionally remind me, you're not drawing combat pay. So I guess somewhere between those two lies a happy medium.
Yeah.
Next. As I said, you try to make pictures that kind of tell a story and all that. So that's the Port Washington band shell. It's a noted landmark in the background. Again. And the groups progressively got closer and closer to each other. So there wasn't any real violence when I was there. More. And again.
Does the newspaper editor determine which photos get in?
Oh yeah, there are a lot of out of these pictures. They maybe used 3 or 4.
Do you have any input in what you think might work?
Well,
or
I can tell him what I want, but what I think, but he's going to do what he thinks. That's simple.
Okay.
Generally, I also say that a lot of times his instincts are better than mine.
Okay.
I mean, I'm a shooter. I'm not really that much of an editor. So this is one of the college kids that organized this thing, allegedly anyway. Keep going. And again. Keep going. Okay. This is kind of like a found situation. This is one of those deals where, hey, we need pictures. Okay, I'm kind of driving around and I see these pretty clouds. Now, pretty clouds by themselves really don't count for a whole lot. You've got to find a foreground for them. So I go out on the breakwater and get a foreground. Next one. I think we got a few of these. Port Washington's historic lighthouse. Well, this is a feature we did on a girl that raises miniature goats. She won a whole lot of 4-H. We'll go back one. She's won a whole lot of 4-H awards, and now she's turned her miniature goat hobby kind of into a bit of a business. So You know, goats are always friendly. At least those miniature goats are. Go to the next one. County fairs are a great place to make pictures. You get there early in the livestock judging day and you get the kids watching their cows. Next, please. I always kind of like working with backlight when I can. We got spraying water and all that. Again. And again. Okay, somebody told me that there was this pig that stuck its tongue out. So I had to hunt up the pig in question. Then I had to go find its owner. And then I says, well, can we make a picture like that? And she says, oh, sure. I'll get a piece of candy corn. They love candy corn. So you get down on the same level as your subject and you make your snap. Again, people pictures of the county fair. You know, you got a picture of the kids with kids with their livestock, the kids with the cobs of corn, and ahead. Well, demolition derbies. It's with the Ozaukee County Fair. They tell me there's two kinds of fairs. There's horse fairs, where there's a lot of horse events, and then there's horsepower fairs with a lot of horsepower. Ozaukee County tends to be a horsepower affair. So it's spectators watching the demolition derby and the demolition derby. It's really amazing in modern technology. The bright colors and all that. Back when I first shot a demolition derby and all that, working with Tri-X film pushed to 3200 ISO, and you know, you get kind of a ghost image of that grainy, miserable image. And now these days we get this kind of stuff. I mean, I'm really amazed what modern equipment can do. Go ahead. You know, guys carrying wreckage off the road, out of the track. And this, the county fair, while there's a set of concrete barriers between myself and the vehicles, they still are throwing mud all over the place. I'll be picking mud off my gear, off my clothes and all that when I get home. He won. And then after the, go ahead.
Would your dad be amazed at the technology that has come out of these cameras?
Well, my father started off with a baby Browning as a 12-year-old kid, and he started his journalism with the old speed graphic. Eventually, we had to go digital, and I told him I was planning on buying a D100. He says, "Tell you what." A Nikon D100. He says, tell you what, why don't I buy that thing first? And if I can't use it, I'm going to retire and it's going to be yours. So he got the camera and I showed him how to use it. And he managed with it for a few years. So he actually went from using a speed graphic to using digital cameras.
Okay. Okay.
Now, after the demolition derby, then I step out onto the fair midway, and okay, it's at night on the fair, so I kind of wanted to see what I could do, and I made a few snaps like this, working with existing light. Go ahead, next one. Sometimes a little bit of existing light with fill flash. As I said, always look for a foreground. Next. Strictly existing light at night in the fair. You know, this is stuff that I remember a time when pictures like this would be just about impossible. But go ahead. Well, group pictures, check presentations. I know it's as photojournalists go, we're supposed to hate these kind of pictures. But you know, the organization that raised the money and donated the money, the organization received the money. For them, this is all important stuff. So it's, you know, make them happy, get the picture. It's this picture, this check was to restore the inside of that caboose. This is over at a historical site. They call it Pioneer Village. And again, a cow picture at the fair. Okay, they're twins. I think the cows are too. You know, when bands are playing, it's another chance to get a quick picture. Yeah. Then you have the pie auction. The picture's telling a story. There's the girl in the foreground showing the pie. There's the 4-H'er in the background auctioning off the pie. Again, another guy practicing his auctioneering skills. And the pie being auctioned. And just a face. Oh, that's that one. That's just a picture in St. Mary's. I have that. Let's go next slide through this. A while ago, there was a Luxembourg, a cardinal from Luxembourg was over in Port Washington and Belgium area. This area was settled largely by a lot of Luxembourgers and all that, and they have they celebrate their heritage periodically. And this cardinal was over here to as part of that. And anyway, as soon as he shows up there, some demonstrators show up there, and as soon as you see demonstrators, you make the picture. You know, even if the paper isn't going to use it, you know, if something does happen, you're going to have some pictures of you know, who they were and all that, and they suddenly become very newsworthy. And well, keep going. And that's the cardinal in question. Working inside a church with existing light. And again, blessing that statue that I don't know what the significance of it was, but he wanted to splash some holy water on it, so. Again. And of course, we have a greeting line. Everybody wants to be greeted by the cardinal. This is over in Decatur, Wisconsin. It should have been called Dakota, but unfortunately, the guy who wrote down Decatur didn't know how to spell. So anyway, this is the cardinal in the in Decatur, and over at the Belgium Cultural Center. This is, I believe that's the Luxembourg ambassador to the United States. It's okay, you're working in a tent, and this is where you use strobe as a, you know, you have to use flash as a fill light. Otherwise, she would have been totally blacked out, and you know the area behind her would be properly exposed. But you're using a strobe light from the camera. When I use strobe light at the camera, I always try and balance it with the ambient light or the background light. Next slide. Again, same event. Once again, balancing strobe light and ambient light. And the statue, because it was storming out, the cardinal blessed the statue, the new statue, from inside the tent. That's the sculpture that he was blessing.
So do some of these events then occur over a couple days? I mean, it's not like you.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so and that's why you need a scheduler to find out where, who, what,
Sure.
when, and okay.
Oh yeah, because they got to coordinate me with everything else as well.
Okay.
You know, I'm one guy and I'm going around. You know, it might be Ozaukee County is, at least in terms of land, we technically extend halfway out into Lake Michigan, making us the largest county in the state of Wisconsin. But actually, in terms of land, we're the smallest. But even in that small area of land, you'd be surprised how many miles I put on in a day. And, oh, how many of you are familiar with blood sausage? They call it tripen or moose tripen. It's the ethnic dish of the day at the Luxembourg Fest. This was served up by the American Legion out of Belgium. Next. And of course, we have a Luxembourg Fest parade. The Luxembourg lion and all that, the sheep, I guess it was a sheep center or something like that. So anyway, parades are a great opportunity to make pictures. Next. People with the sheep and stuff. You know, you make a picture of the whole herd, then you zero in on one particular individual. Again, I think that was our ambassador. I think that might have been the ambassador there. So get them as they're coming, get them as they're going. If they clown around for the camera, nail them. They have the honorary Duke and Duchess. Dancing grannies. They get around. Belgium's 100th anniversary. Had to make a picture of that banner. I told you it was the ethnic dish of the day. They got the tripe float. Keep going. Alan Edmonds, local business, grew up in Belgium and all that. So they're out in their motorized shoe. That was made by a Harley Davidson engineer. I found out this later. For I think one of the Davidson kids. And these people that have it right now, they found it at a rummage sale. So, and these rural parades, they always involve a few tractors. You know, get the big group, then try and zero in on an individual. Rock group from Luxembourg. And keep going. You know, here's the thing is, you got the rock group, you got a foreground. Up, that tripe eating contest. They have a yearly tripe eating contest. Oh, well, how much you can eat in a minute? Best I ever did was 5th. The winner. At a petting zoo, big old turtle. Have to get down to the same level. Have to get down to the same level as your subject. So it's getting down low. That's how you get a good picture of a turtle. And oh, this is our cardinal again. Dedication of the bells of St. Mary's Lake Church. After they decommissioned the St. Mary's Church at Lake Church, they saved the bells and they put them up in a bell tower in the cemetery. So keep going. People on hand for that dedication. The guy who was instrumental in all this stuff, Kevin Westerland. Or Wester, rather. That's those bells used to hang in the church. Now they hang in a cemetery bell tower. So, again, trying to get the expressions. Keep going. Blessing of the bells. Blessing of a kid who probably won't remember. And of course, they got the protesters again. They wouldn't leave them alone. I guess he made a tour throughout a good chunk of the Midwest, and these guys followed him the whole way. So, keep going. And they have an outdoor mass on Sunday in Belgium. This whole thing ran about like 3 days, or 4 days rather, 3 or 4 days. The Luxembourg flags. And of course the mass. Keep going. The crowning of the honorary Duke and Duchess. They do it every year. And you do have to do a number of group pictures. They like their cardinal. These might have been nuns from Lake Church. Not quite sure of that one. Keep going. I brought a lot of stuff. We're not going to get through it all. Group pictures. This is where a real wide lens comes in handy. Again. Okay, I do shoot a lot of sports. Shooting sports, good. You need at least a 250th of a second to stop action. A 500th is better. With the modern equipment, you've got really high ISO equivalents, and also using a telephoto lens. For like shooting football, I prefer a 300. And football, you just try and track the guy with a ball and hit the shutter release when it looks good. By the way, the team we cover is Port Washington. They're the Pirates. Make sure you get the home team with the ball. Ozaukee High School, it's another team we cover. Day games are a little easier to cover than night games. And yeah, you do have to work in the rain. Having rain gear along is always a good, handy thing to have. Keep going. Yeah, no questions, keep hitting them. Offensive face mask. I don't think it was called. I don't even know if there is such a penalty. I always remind myself at these events, you know, I'm waterproof, my gear isn't. So the whole trick is keeping your gear dry. Then we had a what was this thing? It's a motorcycle rally to raise money for these people that take care of shelter dogs, German Shepherds, I think. So anyway, this is the pictures we do there. She was one of the organizers, another one of the organizers. The previous one, I saw her, go back one. You know, I saw her Jeep there with the spare tire cover. So I think, okay, what can I put in front of that spare tire cover for a picture? So I had to hunt up the person whose Jeep it was and her dog. So then you have to kind of put these kind of pictures together. That's another one of those, you know, they go out driving around on their bikes. So I don't think the dogs didn't go along with her, but at least sitting in the parking lot, it made for a good picture. Go ahead. Again, organizers and the dog. This is a Booster Club corn roast in Belgium, or not in Grafton, rather. Junior dance team.
Are you responsible for keeping track of names of people in photos you take?
When I can get the names, great, but there's a lot of times like her, I can get a name on, back one. Now you see when you got a bunch of dancers like that, identifying them afterwards, finding them afterwards, that's not possible. But if I can get the name, I will do that. And yeah, I am responsible for that.
That sounds like quite a job.
Well, that's why we carry the old 3x5 computer. As I said, I'm not, when it comes to computers, well, I still use pen and paper a lot. Anyway, move ahead again. I always try to find something that looks interesting. I don't know if that was a grandmother or great grandmother, but it's one of those two. Okay, you do a lot of group pictures, posed group pictures. This is for the Ozaukee. I believe this was the boys cross country. It's the way I do it is I find a piece of a little patch of shade I can put them in, and then I just use fill flash to brighten up the faces and make the eyes sparkle. And ideally, when you're setting up a group picture like this, you know, if I'd have that front row sitting on the ground, you know, they wouldn't look quite as active, quite as energetic, quite as athletic. So I try to avoid having the row sitting, the row kneeling, the row standing. The row sitting kind of, it kind of wrecks it a little bit. If you have to, maybe I'll even have somebody lying down and clowning around in front of the camera before I have somebody sitting. Next to the picture. Volleyball team, returning seniors anyway. Was a whole team, I forget. But anyway, it's pretty much the same deal. One row more or less squatting on their haunches, the next row kneeling, next row standing. Again. Beginning of the school year, they rolled out a red carpet for them. So I made a few snaps here. Usually way at back one. Get that picture. I bring up the camera. I tell them, hey guys, turn around. They turn around, snap, snap, snap. Okay, go to class.
Do you do a lot of burst shooting? Or most of these from burst?
Well, yes, actually I do. I've always got my camera set on not even burst. It's set on, they call it continuous. You know, gun nuts like me might call it full auto. I commonly make the joke if someone comments on that. I says, yeah, and I don't even need a class 3 permit. And if they laugh about a class 3 permit, I always add, hey, I know I'm among friends here. So this is some more kids arriving first day of school. I don't know if I asked her what dog got her. But here's the kids arriving, the teachers waving them in. Again. Remember that caboose picture we did earlier? A while ago, or a few weeks later, the caboose was open, and they said, oh, you don't want to make a pictures. You don't make, oh, this is ugly, this is terrible. Oh, show me the inside of this caboose. So I kind of pressured her a little bit, but she is the one in charge of the caboose project. So I kind of got her in with the inside of this caboose that they're going to restore. Go ahead, another one. Again, this is a combination of flash and existing light. When you're using punch flash in the camera, the only way you can avoid that deer in the headlights type look is you've got to have light coming in from other sources. Yeah, their famous caboose. Covering a football game, a lot of the student fans, they tend to dress up. Sometimes they make for good pictures. And again, we're shooting football. Track the ball. Try and keep your focus probe on the player with the ball, and when it looks good, hit the shutter release. This is where shooting continuously, it really does help. My father was always a believer in the old motor drives. They were so slow that you'd miss the action. He believed in hitting that shutter release at just the peak of action, just a single frame. I find doing the single frame thing, no, it doesn't quite work that way. It's best to, when you see the action going, hit it with a burst. You never know how the play will develop. So anyway, this is just a story on a speed or a auto restoration place in Belgium. The owner with a big block engine. And again, try and come up with something a little different. He says that car didn't have an engine in the engine compartment. He says, I'll climb in there for you if you want me to. Okay, go do it. Can you figure it out? Anybody?
Oh, yeah.
Defense?
Defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see things like this in a football game, grab them. This is the thing about, if you keep the shutter going, if you keep working continuous, I didn't know that ball was going to pop loose. Even though that player has a tendency to like to make those ball tackles. And then you've got the halftime, you got the Plymouth, or the Port Dance team rather, get a few snaps of them. And this night was also the Pee Wee football program. These are the little kids with the flag football. They're putting on a little bit of a show at halftime. They're good for a few snaps. This was a Parks and Recreation program at Veterans Park in Port Washington. That's some kind of a Disney character, though I don't really know which one, dancing around with a bunch of the kids that showed up for the program. Shooting fireworks. Set your camera up on a tripod, and as long as you've got an open shutter, you know, you keep your shutter open and you count your air bursts. You know, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then just before you close the shutter, you strip off your strobe and you can illuminate your foreground. Next. Pretty much the same deal. The boss says I make shooting fireworks entirely too easy. And then, you know, when you got these rock groups, it's always nice to zero in on them. Paramount Blues Festival they have every year in Grafton. I was shooting during the day, making a couple of pictures. Get a couple of pictures of the crowd, or of the performers, then get a couple of pictures of a few of the fans. Then we've got the Holland Fest up in Cedar Grove, where they celebrate their Dutch ethnicity by scrubbing the streets. It's another photo event that's always good for photos. And then they have the well, keep going. Then they have the Klompen dancers, Klompen from the wooden shoes and all that. It's a good reason to carry a variety of lenses. I mean, when you start doing these overhead, see, right here I am, the guy with the long arms and the camera shadow. It's with the autofocus and all that modern equipment, makes these Hail Mary shots real easy these days. And it's about wooden shoes, so you better get a good picture of wooden shoes. And there's lots of dancers. Then they have a wooden shoe race. So keep going. Oli Bolton or Oli Boli or something like that. It's kind of a well, it's a Dutch donut that could probably stand in as a cannonball. They're pretty heavy. Powered by Oli Boli, yep. So it's you get people accounting for the camera. Generally, when I do a lot of these pictures, I like to have people looking into the lens. So, you know, if they're interacting with the lens, they're interacting with the viewers or the readers. Grabs the reader's attention. You know, he doesn't grab a reader's attention quite as well. More of that stuff from Decatur when the Cardinal was around. Oh, checking out an old piece of tapestry or an old. They used to dress the. They have some statue. They always used to dress up in various dresses depending on the time of the year. This is one of the dresses they used. Keep going. That's the statue that they used to dress in, that little red dress. Yeah. It's the front of Decatur, or the front of St. Nicholas at Decatur. Keep on going for that one. Again, another group picture. This is the Port swim team. The thing is, well, first off, there's the yearbook photographer who's there, and well, she's kind of got them all set up for the picture. But see that front row? She had them sitting flat on the ground. So all of a sudden, it's my turn. I want to make a little bit of a change. I don't like copying other people's work. So I says, okay, you guys sit on your haunches, and that's how we got that picture. Fort Washington has a beer garden in it, and periodically you make pictures of the beer garden. Beer gardens come with bands and people serving beer. In this case, this was the St. Peter's Men's Club. Going again, another team picture. Now they have in Port Washington, they have something called Venetian Night. They decorate up the boats and they kind of have a little bit of a boat parade. This was a group that or a boat that their theme was a rock group, I believe. Not that familiar with them myself, but we made that picture ahead. Now the parade begins at night. So this is a picture done, I think I was working around, it might have been 32 or 6400 or so with strobe, and the stuff that the illumination you see there, that's reaching through about, I'd say a good 50 yards of distance. So it's you can get a strobe light can reach out surprisingly far, especially if you're working at a fairly fast ISO equivalent. Again, this is the sailboat there, the illumination of the hull. That was from my strobe, which I was about 200 yards away from this, working at maybe about 6,400. And of course, you use the glow of the lighthouse. That kind of gives you a nice backlight. And as long as we're out there, the sheriff's department's out there. Let's make a picture of their boat. Never know, we might need one of those. This is a diver at a swimming event. Once again, I'm working at a fairly high ISO, at least 6,400, maybe better. And well, again, it's kind of like it's again one of those burst. Well, I don't really call it burst. I just kind of hold that shutter down, and from the time she's in the air until she hits the water, and sometimes you get lucky. And then the swim meets. Wait till their heads come up, and then you shoot them.
How high a shutter speed?
Again, it's a sporting event. I like to work at least at 250 of those. I prefer 500, but I can go down as low as a 250. Now for that diver there, I was working at a very, very high ISO because there's an incredible amount of momentum down. I think I wanted to have at least 1,000th of a second on that one. As I said, speed is life. I know the quote was from a Luftwaffe pilot, but I guess it works for photographers too. And it's kind of like you follow the swimmer and you get the action. This is a ladies' night in Port Washington. I guess they had a Western theme, but that's Port Washington is fairly, the St. Mary's, the church up there. That's a pretty prominent landmark, and that pretty much says downtown Port Washington. So these three girls, I says, hey, you guys want to go out on the street for me for a moment? Sure. And I says to a couple of cops watching, I says, hey, you guys want to block traffic for about 30 seconds for me? They were blocking traffic. These guys were doing what I wanted them to do. I was using a little bit of fill flash, made the snap. That was that. Next. This is movie night at the Grafton Pool. These kids are watching some Disney movie. So get a nice picture of them, and then keep going. And again, more of them. That's the movie. Getting a little darker now. You can watch the movie. And well, again, then after that movie, I kind of went back to the Paramount Music Fest. You saw those pictures earlier by day. I kind of wanted to see what I do at night. So I was kind of playing around at night with a fairly high ISO equivalent. Again, this is all done with existing light, no strobes. I just wanted to see what it would do. And of course, the crowd. This was a back one. This was this kid's mother, pushy band mom. She ran into me at a gas station, and she was telling me all about her son and how this great band and all that, and how. Then I was listening to her, and this is a local kid. Him and his friends have formed a bit of a band. Well, let's see if this will make a feature. So I showed up at when they found out they were playing at a local fireman's picnic, and then I started showing up and making the pictures. Again, the band group. kid in the red vest, he's the front man for the group. He's the guy we were focusing on. Getting it again. Fans, this group is actually more than just your average garage band. These kids, forget the name of the group, but you might eventually hear from them. Again. Well, some of this stuff was done with existing light, some was done with fill flash. Since this was the local kid, the rest of them were from like Washington County and all that. So this was the guy we zeroed in on for the feature story. So this was what was the outfit? Capco and Grafton. They had their I don't know, was their 50th anniversary or something along those lines. Anyway, they had a tribute band there, so I was making pictures of these guys there too. Get a crowd picture. Keep going. Oh yeah, this was this was a fundraiser for the Ozaukee Washington Land Trust. So this was a bunch of stuff done around dusk at a farm not too far from here. Again, getting some group pictures. Again, using fill flash, but trying to maintain a balance of ambient light. Ahead. And again, one of the prominent people in the land trust. Oh. Then we get Flag Day over in Wabaka. Celebration of Americana and all that. So once again, you get a back one. You know, background, foreground, now you can advance. The dance team. They have a parade. Parades are always fun. You always get lots of good pictures at a parade. Again, you get crowd pictures at a parade. A lot of these kids, they all know me. They all want to get their picture made. So, you know, indulge them.
Have a question.
Yep.
Who owns the photos that you take?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I've got copies of them. The press has got copies of them. I know they sell reprints. I know I sell reprints. So it's we could probably work it out a little closer if you wanted to do it that way. But actually, a lot of my stuff, after it's been around with me for a few years, I usually give it to the Luxembourg Society. My father, he eventually donated all of his stuff, all of his pictures and negatives and all that to the Luxembourg Society. And he was a Depression kid. You don't throw anything away. So our house in Port Washington, it was so jammed with this stuff. First, they showed up with an SUV. Then they came back with a moving van, boxes and boxes. He didn't even throw away his reject prints. You know, when you're printing in black and white, you know, your first print is never quite the way you want it to be. So he sets these. So, you know, you do another one, but the reject print, he didn't throw them away. He held on to them all. And right now, I usually tell people that old timers have been around here for a while. If they know who a lot of people are and all that, and they're looking for something to do, call the Luxembourg Society and tell them you want to look through the Vernard folio and see if you can identify anybody that they haven't already identified. So that's how that works out.
Thank you.
Again, it's a parade. It's Flag Day. Again. Trick to getting a good picture is getting the back one. Staying down on the level of your subject. This one wasn't too particularly sharp. I was probably too lazy to get down. I probably just kind of lowered my camera and kind of did a Hail Mary. Again, They have a rodeo that comes to the Beekler Farm in Belgium every year. And I really have not covered too many professional sports. But bull riding, that's one of the few professional sports that I've kind of enjoyed covering. The long lens. No riders were harmed in the manufacture of this product. Those bulls were in an ugly mood that day. Again, stopping the action, thousandth of a second. You were gonna ask me something?
Well, I was just gonna mention that a couple of our people went to this
Okay,
event.
I think I might have seen a few of them there. They were kind of up in the stands, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I think I heard that they were high up this time.
Yeah, they were high up. To get these pictures, I'm kind of down low, and I've kind of got my my lens kind of pointed through the rungs in the fence.
Mm-hmm.
I have kind of had it where I have a bull has kind of taken an interest in me, but I'm kind of on this side of the fence. He's on that side of the fence, but I just kind of don't want to move because I want to make the pictures. I don't want to draw any more attention to myself than I have to.
Mm-hmm.
There's an old school in Decatur, and they had an open house one day. This is the people that went to that school once upon a time. This is Decatur. That's the old Catholic school in the background. It's where my father went to school, actually. And these are people who I guess were in the class of '65. Once again, background in the foreground. They were hauling up a bunch of armor stone, doing repair works at Port Washington South Breakwater. So we got a load of armor stone coming in, but I need a foreground. So that fisherman does that for me. Again, barges, tugs, and a foreground. And move on to this one. We're not back in the beginning, are we?
Yeah, we are.
Okay, well, I guess we went through all that. Are there any additional questions or anything along those lines? Anything more we can talk about?
So it looks like you do not, it sounds like you take a ton of pictures. You don't,
Oh, yeah.
okay, I'm only going to take like, say, 5 pictures at an event. You just kind of do a lot of shooting, right?
Yep.
And then the
go ahead.
other question is, do you let them worry about whatever pictures?
Oh, no. I do the initial editing myself. Okay. On a weekend, I've been known to, I come back on I usually have a lot of events on a Saturday or a Sunday. I come back with maybe 1,000 images or more. And I do the initial editing myself. I'll edit them down to like a football game and all that. I'll give our sports editor maybe 8 pictures off of that. He might use 1 or 2.
Okay.
So it's but I never throw any images away. It's after I'm done with them all, I burn the whole set of stuff I've done to a disk and I file it away. In the early days of digital, back when guys were deleting a whole lot of things, there was this one guy who did delete images, and he worked for the he was a Washington White House or some news agency connected with the White House and all that. And when that Paula Jones thing broke, he says, I know I've got a picture of her someplace. And he went back through his records, and there he found Paula Jones hugging Mr. Clinton through the rope line. Something that would have been lost had he deleted all his images. Anything else anyone wants to talk about?
You shoot JPEGs?
Group.
Oh, JPEG. I always work in JPEG. There's a friend of mine who likes to work in RAW quite a bit, but it's kind of like I've never really seen a need to produce raw, to start working with raw files. You know, it's a much bigger file and all that, and well, JPEGs work real well for me. JPEG, large and fine.
Do you use keywords with all the photos that you have?
I file my stuff by date. So I usually tell at the end of the season, we're doing a season wrap up and all that. Our sports editor, he might want to know, hey, do you have a picture of such and such player? I says, okay, what's his number and when might have I gotten a picture of him? He says, okay, his number was 13 and you shot him at on the 5th of September and the 10th of October. And from there I can go back and I can find him. So that's usually how I do it. I'm not particular. Well, all my stuff has a catalog number to them, but it's not not by subject or anything like that.
Okay.
So the newspaper has a copy of all of your images.
They have a
not
copy of
just-
everything. Oh, they have a copy of everything I give them. It's the huge files that I have. If I shoot 1,000 frames, that's burnt to a CD that I keep for myself. They would have none. They wouldn't have any use for it anyway.
Mhm.
When you balance,
What was that?
when you balance your flash, are you doing that manually?
Well, hey, actually, I usually have the strobe. The strobe figures out. I tell the strobe how much light I want to give it. I usually want it underpowered by maybe anywhere from a third to a seventh of an f-stop or so. And then if the light's really goofy, then I'll switch the camera over to a manual and I'll take charge of it.
Thank you.
I always said that, you know, my camera, like I usually, most of my work is on aperture priority, but periodically you got to go to a manual. It's as good as the cameras are, as much computer power as they have, as smart as they are, you're still smarter.
Working for the paper, are you considered a freelance photographer or are you
No, they assign me, they write me a paycheck. I'm a hireling, really.
okay, so then they supply the camera equipment?
No, they don't supply the camera equipment.
No, oh wow.
Would you trust a mechanic that doesn't own his own wrenches?
Well, true, I see your point in that, but you know, it's let's say a car, let's say a tool and die. It's like, okay, I'm not gonna buy the $1 million machine in that. That's your job and that.
Well, for a lot of newspapers, they do supply their photographers with company gear. I work for a small paper. I have always supplied my own gear. I've gotten photo equipment allowances that I'm supposed to save up and buy new gear with, although it never really covers the expenses, of course. But I own my own gear. I don't let any other writer or anything like that borrow them.
On an assignment, you do your pre-edit. As you said, you take a lot of photographs. How many do you submit for a particular assignment? 10, 12?
It depends on the assignment. I mean, some things, if I'm just supposed to make a picture of a check presentation or a group picture, one will do it. If we're doing a feature, well, then a dozen might be good. Sporting events, I generally like to give our sports editor a variety of pictures. If nothing else, he can file them away, and some week when we're not covering a particular team, but maybe a player that I photographed earlier that didn't run in that on the first game, he might have had a great game, and now we got a picture of him to run with a new story. So that's kind of how that works.
For working for the paper, do you get paid by the assignment?
No, I get paid. I get a salary check.
Okay.
It doesn't really. I'm paid salary. I get a given check per week, and I get a mileage allowance.
do they get you a food, if you have to travel, I would assume they, reimburse you for food and maybe lodging?
I've never had to go anywhere overnight.
Oh, okay, so let's say like a college football game, for a championship game. or
Well,
anything?
it's we don't really cover too many college teams. Well, I take that back. Our sports editor, he does put in for a couple of Madison, a couple UW games, and tries to get a couple of local kids who've made the UW team and all that. So he takes care of that. It's his thing. I can do something else on my Saturday. So as I said, I've never really been far enough away that I needed to stay overnight or even really catch a meal.
Well, there's a lot of great information. This is cool. A lot of great questions, a lot of great answers. So thank you.
Okay. Is there anything else? Oh,
It's a totally different way of working than a lot of us do as far as the photography aspect, because it's, I mean, obviously some of the people take so much time to set up a shot, and you don't have that luxury. So it's
no.
like,
Shoot and scoot.
yeah.
There was a friend of my father's worked for the National Geographic. Brill he started out on Cedar Grove kid. But anyway, remember it was a lot of years ago now, but they did a story on early man, and they put together a hominid skeleton, and then they used a bunch of modeling clay to fill in the missing bones and all that. Anyway, to make this picture, Brill, he asks the museum, okay, what would it cost to do this? And they says, oh, about $10,000. He says, I'll get back to you. He calls his boss. He says, I need a $15,000 expense account for this picture. No problem. So yeah, and that's it for one picture. So yeah, it's some guys, they have all those luxuries.
If they make really big time, so to speak. Okay.
Yep.
Something else that I realized too is how many different events are happening around the county that we could go out and we could take pictures of ourselves, but we're just not keeping up with, well, everything that's going on.
You can find a lot of that stuff on the internet these days.
Sure.
And I mean, wherever you're located at, you always have county fairs. There's always somebody within driving distance has got to have a 4th of July parade. And you got to have a couple of firemen's picnics, that kind of thing. So the stuff's all around.
Yeah.
Even if you have like a Lions Club sponsoring some kind of a 5K run or something like that, that's still an opportunity for sports pictures.
Sure.
And also like high schools and that, you can get in touch with the athletic director. And I don't know how many of you guys put your work up on Facebook or something like that, where kids could order prints and all that. And you could talk to the AD, see if you can go cover some sporting events, and then the school or these kids can access your work.
With your type of photography, what do you think is the hardest or biggest challenge that you have to do with photography in general? Let's say lighting or whatever. What's probably one of the most difficult
Challenges.
things?
Oh boy.
Challenges.
I don't know. Actually, these days, when I consider what challenges used to be in the old days, I mean, like night football used to, when you had to push Triax film with the 3200 and that, and try and pull up some kind of an image off the base fog. I mean, that was a challenge. These days, it's a whole lot simpler.
I agree with you that, with this new camera equipment, it makes things a lot more easier. Like with the high ISO, you have less noise and everything too.
Oh yeah. it's, actually, I kind of look forward to a challenge when I've got one. But I really haven't, I really can't tell you what my last challenges really are. So it's sometimes courtroom shooting where you have to be as unobtrusive as possible. That can present a challenge. You know, you get your camera down on silent mode and all that. Trying to do those kind of pictures. That might be kind of a bit of a challenge, but other than that, I really can't think of too much right offhand, unless it's something where I gotta, where I can't get all that close to something, and I've got to use what we used to call in the old days telephoto enlargers and all that. But other than that, no, I really don't see too many challenges these days.
Cool, thank you.
Yes. It was really interesting.
Okay. Anybody else?
Good thing I showed up to ask questions.
Well, I think we'll call it a meeting. Thank you, Sam, for the
Well, actually, it was a lot of fun.
perspectives and really a different way of looking at our photography.
Well, there's all kinds of different photography. You know, it's there's the kind of journalism I do. Then there's the kind of stuff higher end guys get to do, and then there's industrial photography and studio photography and that type of stuff. So it's actually one of the things I do enjoy about photojournalism is I really get to do a bit of it all.
Yeah.
So anyway, guys, I really enjoyed talking to you all.
Thank you so much. A
No
lot
problem.
of great presentation.
Okay.
Thank you. It's interesting.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, then, everyone have a good evening. That concludes our meeting for today. Goodbye. Cursor.
As everybody slowly disappears.